I want to thank you for your interest in our project, Lost Battles, Trojan Horses, Open Gates, and Wars Won, or Can You Sell Your Sustainable Venture Without Selling Out? Over time, we've seen an increase of sustainable ventures sold to multinational corporations, beginning with Ben & Jerry's in 2000, Body Shop to L'Oreal, Tom's of Maine to Colgate, Seventh Generation to Unilever, and Whole Foods to Amazon, and most recently in our backyard, New Belgium sold to Little Lion World Beverage, which is owned by Kirin. We know that sustainable entrepreneurs seek to overcome market failure to deal with environmental problems. However, we don't understand how they go about doing this. Our project looked at this with a structuration theory lens that sees structure and agents as impossible to separate. This is exemplified in the M.C. Escher poster that shows the hand drawing the hand drawing the hand. We chose a number of cases based on their commitment to their environmental goals, the prominence of their sales, and available information. We got data from every source that we could think of. We've got published interviews, books about the sales, case studies, academic studies, reports in popular press, and excerpts from a conference that was called Selling Without Selling Out. What we found is we found evidence along a continuum of agency mostly constrained to agently enabled. And indeed, we saw examples of lost battles. We saw examples of companies that subsequent to the sale, their sustainable mission was diminished. One of the examples was Odwalla that saw less use of natural ingredients when they were bought by Coca-Cola. However, we saw evidence of a number of companies that engaged in what we call Trojan horses. They took deliberate efforts to maintain and preserve, expand, and even infuse their social mission into the acquiring companies. They did this a number of different ways. One of the first ways is just by expanding impact. Mark Retzlaff, who was the CEO of Horizon Milk, said that he changed the world 1 acre at a time. So the more acres that he dealt with, the more he changed, the more he was able to impact change. The second way was what we call designing governance for impact. Honest Tea, when they sold to Coca-Cola, insisted on themselves as a separate independent entity. Ben & Jerry's created a separate board of directors, and Stonyfield Farms, they actually agreed upon, at sale, they agreed upon the terms of the social practices that would continue, and the CEO, Gary Hirschfeld, asked to be CEO subsequent to sales and was granted that. Not only this, but we saw what we call baking impact into the product. This is when it's so much in, the product is so much infused in the practices and the culture that the argument is, according to Steve Demos, who started White Wave, it's so much part of their what the acquiring company has bought that if they changed it, they would diminish the product, the acquisition that they bought. Not only that, but we saw acquiring companies that sought to buy these companies in order to be able to learn from them. Clorox bought Burt's Bees because they wanted to understand this new world that was evolving in terms of healthier products. Moreover, they decided that they wanted to infuse these more sustainable products into all of what they did in their corporation. Finally, we saw evidence of what we call is Wars Won, and this is cross-boundary activity. So this is not with only the acquiring company or the acquired company. This is agency over time making fundamental structural changes. I can show this to you on this continuum that looks at the evolution of acquisitions from 2000 to 2020. On the left-hand side of the acquisitions, on the right-hand side, we see structural changes that have occurred. Highlighting here is the evolution of B Labs. 500 B Corps were registered with B Labs after 2010. In the last year, 34 states have enacted benefit corporation legislation, the most recent of which is White Wave at $2.5 billion when it was bought by Group Danone when they organized in the States. Now, this brings us back to New Belgium. We don't know what's going to happen with the social mission of New Belgium subsequent to the sale. What we do know is that New Belgium is already in 50 states, and by by selling to the parent company, which is Karen, it allows them access to a global marketplace. We also know that they're going to continue their headquarters here in Fort Collins. And we also know that this is a company that the social mission is embedded throughout the culture, throughout everything that they do, as evidenced by one example is Tour de Fat, which they will be continuing. And so they are, as well as all of their employees and management team has worked to create business for a better world. Thank you for your interest in our project, and we hope to hear from you.